My son stopped calling me Dad, started calling me Thomas, like I was a stranger, a colleague, someone he'd just met at a business conference. That should have been my first warning. But you don't want to believe your own child is slipping away from you, especially when you've already lost so much. It was a Thursday evening in September when everything started to unravel. I was at my house in Richmond, Virginia, the same house where I'd raised Michael and Rachel, where my wife Sarah had lived until cancer took her 5 years ago. I was grilling burgers on the back patio, the way I did every Thursday, hoping Michael might stop by like he used to. He didn't. The phone rang around 7. Michael's voice was formal, distant. Thomas, Jennifer and I would like to invite you to dinner this Saturday. 6 o'clock. Our place. Thomas. Not Dad. Not Pop. Thomas. That sounds great, son, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Can I bring anything? No need. Jennifer's handling everything. He hung up before I could say I loved him. I stood there on my patio, holding my phone, watching smoke rise from the grill. Michael had married Jennifer 2 years ago. A whirlwind romance, they'd called it. 6 months from first date to wedding. Sarah would have had concerns about that timeline. But Sarah wasn't here anymore. And I'd thought, maybe Michael knows what he's doing. He's 42. Successful architect. Smart guy. He'd found someone who made him happy. Except lately, he didn't look happy. He looked thin, anxious, like someone had taken my confident son and replaced him with a hollow version. Saturday came. I drove to their house in Short Pump, a beautiful colonial they'd bought last year. Top of the line everything. Jennifer had expensive taste. I'd learned that quickly. I knocked on the door at exactly 6. Jennifer answered. She was 38, striking, always perfectly dressed. Tonight she wore a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than my monthly pension. Thomas. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Right on time. Michael's in the kitchen. I stepped inside. The house was immaculate. Too immaculate. Like nobody actually lived there. Michael appeared from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. He'd lost weight. His face was drawn, and there were dark circles under his eyes I hadn't noticed on our last video call. Hey, he said. Not hey, Dad. Just, hey, Michael. I wanted to hug him, but something in his posture said don't. How are you, son? Busy. The Riverside project is demanding. We sat down to dinner. Jennifer had made something elaborate, some kind of seared fish with vegetables I couldn't pronounce. Everything was plated like a restaurant. During the meal, I tried to talk to Michael about his work, about the Riverside project I knew he'd been excited about. Actually, Jennifer interrupted, setting down her wine glass. Michael's thinking about stepping back from that project. The stress isn't good for him. I looked at Michael. He loved that project. He'd talked about it for months. Is that right, son? Michael shifted in his seat. Jennifer's concerned about my health. The hours have been intense. But you love that work, I said carefully. He loves me more, Jennifer said, reaching over to squeeze Michael's hand. Don't you, honey? Of course, Michael said quietly. The conversation continued like that. Every time I tried to engage with Michael directly, Jennifer redirected. She spoke for him, finished his sentences, corrected his stories, and Michael just sat there, nodding along, like he'd forgotten how to speak for himself. After dinner, Jennifer excused herself to take a phone call. I finally had a moment alone with my son. Michael, are you okay? You seem... I'm fine, Thomas. There it was again. Thomas. Why does everyone keep asking me that? Everyone? You, Rachel, my partners at the firm. Everyone thinks something's wrong just because I'm putting my marriage first. I didn't say anything was wrong. Jennifer says you never approved of her. That you think I married too quickly. That's not. She's been really hurt by your coldness, Thomas. She tries so hard to welcome you into our family, and you barely acknowledge her efforts. I sat back, stunned. Coldness? I'd been nothing but welcoming to Jennifer. I'd helped them move into this house. I'd hosted their wedding shower. What was he talking about? Michael, I don't know what Jennifer told you, but Jennifer returned to the room, and Michael's face immediately shifted, became guarded. "Everything okay in here?" she asked brightly. "Fine," Michael said. "Thomas was just leaving. He mentioned he has an early morning." I hadn't mentioned any such thing. I drove home in a daze, my hands tight on the wheel. Something was very wrong. My son had never spoken to me like that. Never looked at me with that combination of defensiveness and distance. It was like Jennifer had built a wall between us, brick by brick, and Michael couldn't see it happening. The next morning, I was mowing my lawn when Martha Campbell appeared at my fence. Martha was 73, a retired nurse who lived 2 houses down. She'd been friends with Sarah, used to bring over casseroles after the funeral, checked on me during holidays. "Thomas," she called over the fence. "Can I talk to you?" I turned off the mower. "Morning, Martha. What's on your mind?" She glanced around like she was checking for eavesdroppers, then stepped closer to the fence. "I saw you at Michael and Jennifer's house last night. I was returning their mail that got delivered to my box by mistake." "Oh?" "Thomas," her voice dropped lower, more urgent. "Your son's wife is poisoning him." My blood went cold. "What?" "Not with chemicals," Martha said quickly. "With words, with isolation, with control. I've seen it before, Thomas. I worked in psychiatric nursing for 30 years. What Jennifer is doing to Michael, it's a textbook case of coercive control." I stared at her. "Martha, that's a serious accusation." "I know it is, and I wouldn't say it if I wasn't certain." She pulled a small notebook from her pocket. "I've been keeping track. The last time Michael visited you alone was 4 months ago. The last time he called you Dad was 6 months ago. The last time he showed up at a family event without Jennifer hovering was 8 months ago. It's getting worse, Thomas. She's cutting him off from everyone who cares about him." "Why would she do that?" Martha's face was grave. "Because isolated people are easier to control, and controlled people are easier to take everything from." I wanted to dismiss it, wanted to tell Martha she was overreacting, that Michael was just busy, that newlyweds needed space to build their marriage. But I couldn't, because deep down, I'd felt it too. The wrongness, the distance, the way my son had become a stranger. "What should I do?" I asked quietly. "Watch. Document. And whatever you do, don't confront Jennifer directly. People like her are dangerous when cornered." Martha touched my hand through the fence. "I'm sorry, Thomas. I truly am. But you needed to know." I spent that week watching. Really watching. I called Rachel, my daughter, who lived in Denver. She was 39, a pediatric nurse, practical and sharp. "Dad, I've been trying to tell you for months," Rachel said when I brought up my concerns. "Michael's different. He canceled on Thanksgiving last year because Jennifer had booked them a cruise, remember? And when I tried to video call him for his birthday, Jennifer answered his phone and said he was too tired to talk. Why didn't you say something?" "I did, Dad. 3 times. You said I was being dramatic, that I needed to give Jennifer a chance." My stomach sank. She was right. I had said that. "I'm listening now," I said. Rachel was quiet for a moment. "I hired someone, a private investigator. I know it sounds crazy, but I needed to know if I was imagining things." "What did you find?" "Jennifer's been married twice before, both times to successful men. Both marriages ended with the men signing over assets, claiming they wanted to start fresh after divorce. One of them, a man named David Pritchard, lost his architecture firm. The other, Gregory Walsh, lost his medical practice. And get this, Dad, both men said the same thing afterward. They couldn't explain what happened. They just remembered feeling increasingly isolated, increasingly convinced that their families were against them, that only their wives understood them." I sat down heavily in my kitchen chair. "Michael's an architect. I know. We need to help him. I've tried, Dad. Last month I flew out there for a surprise visit. Jennifer wouldn't let me in the house. Said Michael was sick with the flu, couldn't have visitors. When I finally got Michael on the phone, he said I was being invasive, that I needed to respect his privacy. That doesn't sound like Michael. It's not Michael. Not anymore. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my son, about the confident, laughing boy who'd become a firefighter like his old man, then switched to architecture because he wanted to build things instead of just save them. The man who'd held his mother's hand through every chemo session, who'd delivered a eulogy at her funeral that made everyone cry and laugh at the same time. That Michael wouldn't cut off his family. That Michael wouldn't call his father Thomas's like a stranger, unless Jennifer had convinced him we were the enemy. I called Philip Morrison, my lawyer. He'd handled Sarah's estate, drafted my will, knew my family well. Phil, I need advice. What can I do if I think someone is manipulating my son? Philip was quiet for a long moment. Thomas, in the eyes of the law, Michael is a competent adult. Unless you can prove he's mentally incapacitated or being held against his will, there's not much legal recourse. So I just watch my son disappear? I didn't say that. I said there's limited legal recourse. But there are other approaches. Document everything. Keep records of communications, changes in behavior, financial anomalies. Build a case. And Thomas? If this woman is doing what you think she's doing, she'll escalate. People like that always do. When she makes her move, you need to be ready. Over the next 2 weeks, I became a detective in my own son's life. I started noticing things I'd missed before. Michael had always been active on social media. He'd post pictures of his projects, share architectural articles, comment on friends' updates. His last post was from 6 months ago. His profile picture had changed from a solo shot to one of him and Jennifer. His bio, which used to say architect, son, brother, coffee enthusiast, now just said married to the love of my life. I checked his firm's website. Michael's bio page had been updated. His personal interests section, which used to mention hiking and visiting historical buildings, now mentioned spending time with my wife and nothing else. I talked to his colleague, Pete Donovan, who I'd met at a few of Michael's work events. Mr. Mercer, Pete said carefully when I called, I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but Michael's partnership status is in jeopardy. What? Why? He's been missing deadlines, showing up late, and when he's here, he seems distracted. And between you and me, there have been some concerning financial decisions. He wanted to put Jennifer on the firm's accounts as an authorized signer. We pushed back, said it wasn't appropriate. He got defensive, said we didn't trust his judgment. That's not like him. No, sir. It's not. The Michael I've known for 15 years wouldn't jeopardize his career like this. Something's changed. Something. Someone. 3 weeks after that dinner, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, a woman's voice said, Mr. Mercer? This is Angela Cross. I was married to David Pritchard. I understand you've been looking into Jennifer Sawyer. My hand tightened on the phone. How did you know? I still have contacts. Word gets around when someone starts asking questions about Jennifer. Can we meet? There are things you need to know. We met at a coffee shop in Glen Allen. Angela was in her 50s, well-dressed, with kind eyes that had seen too much. I should have done this when I first heard Jennifer remarried, Angela said, stirring her coffee. Should have warned the new victim. But I thought, maybe I'm being bitter. Maybe it was just David and me. Maybe she's different now. But she's not, is she? Tell me what happened. Angela took a deep breath. David and I were married for 18 years. Good marriage. Not perfect, but good. Then he hired Jennifer as his firm's marketing consultant. Within 6 months, he was telling me we needed to separate, that our marriage had been dead for years, that I was holding him back. None of it made sense. David was saying things that weren't true, believing things that hadn't happened. Like what? He accused me of spending all our money, even though I had receipts proving otherwise. He said I'd turned our daughters against him, even though they were begging him to talk to them. He said I'd told his parents he was a failure, something I'd never do. Jennifer had convinced him of all of it. Every lie became reality in his mind. How? Constant répétition. Isolation. She'd feed him small distortions of truth, mixed with concern. I'm worried about you, David. Your wife doesn't seem to appreciate how hard you work. Your family only calls when they need money. Your friends don't really respect you. over and over, until David started believing his whole support system was toxic. And who was there to comfort him through all this manufactured crisis? Jennifer. My stomach turned. This was exactly what was happening to Michael. When David filed for divorce, Jennifer convinced him to give me almost nothing, said I didn't deserve his hard-earned money. He signed over the business, the house, everything, just to be free of me. 6 months later, Jennifer had control of David's firm. 8 months later, the firm was bankrupt. Jennifer had systematically drained it, taken out loans in David's name, moved money to offshore accounts. By the time David realized what happened, she was gone. Married to Gregory Walsh 2 months later. What happened to David? Angela's eyes filled with tears. He killed himself, Mr. Mercer. 3 years ago. Left a note saying he was sorry, that he couldn't believe what he'd done to his family, that he'd lost everything and didn't know how to come back from it. The coffee shop suddenly felt too small, too hot. I'm so sorry. Gregory Walsh is in a psychiatric facility now. Breakdown. Lost his practice, lost his family, lost his mind. Jennifer does this. Mr. Mercer. She finds successful men, isolates them, takes everything, and moves on. Your son is her current project. And I'm telling you, if you don't stop her, Michael will end up like David. Or worse. I left that meeting shaking. Rachel was right. Martha was right. And I'd been blind. That night, I pulled out every financial document I had related to Michael. I'd been a co-signer on his first car loan 20 years ago. I'd helped him with his mortgage application. I had access to some of his older accounts. That's when I found it. A life insurance policy. $500,000. Insured person. Thomas Mercer. Beneficiary. Jennifer Mercer. Not Michael. Jennifer. My hands shook as I stared at the document. I'd never signed this. Never even discussed life insurance with Michael in recent years. I called my insurance company. After being transferred 3 times, I finally reached someone who could help. Mr. Mercer. Yes. I see the policy here. Initiated 8 months ago. The signature on file matches your driver's license. I never signed that. There was a pause. Sir, are you saying this is fraud? I'm saying I need you to cancel this policy immediately. But it was more than the insurance policy. Over the next 3 days, working with Philip and a forensic accountant Rachel had hired, we discovered a joint bank account between Michael and Jennifer that was draining Michael's assets systematically. Credit cards opened in Michael's name that he likely didn't know about. A second mortgage on Michael and Jennifer's house. The money transferred to an offshore account. Loan applications for my house. Using forged documents with my signature. Jennifer wasn't just isolating Michael. She was preparing to take everything from both of us. And from the timeline, she was getting close to the end game. We need to confront her, Rachel said during an emergency video call with Philip and me. No, Philip said firmly. Angela was right. People like Jennifer are dangerous when cornered. We need Michael to see the truth himself. If we just accuse her, she'll use it to drive a deeper wedge between him and his family. So what do? We stage an intervention, Philip said. But carefully. We present facts, not emotions. We show Michael the evidence, and we have resources ready. Therapist specializing in coercive control, legal team, financial advisors. We give Michael a path out. What if he doesn't take it? I asked quietly. Then we've done what we can. But Thomas, you need to prepare yourself. Michael might choose her, at least initially. These situations, the victim often defends their abuser. It's part of the psychological control. The intervention was set for the following Saturday. We'd invited Michael to my house under the pretense of discussing Thanksgiving plans. Rachel flew in from Denver. Philip would be there. Martha had agreed to attend, to share what she'd observed from a medical professional's perspective. I spent the week leading up to it terrified. Terrified that Michael wouldn't come. Terrified that he would. Terrified that I was about to lose my son, one way or another. Friday night, I sat in Sarah's old rocking chair on the porch, the same chair where she'd rocked both babies to sleep decades ago. I pulled out a photo album, looked at pictures of Michael as a boy. Michael at 7, wearing his plastic firefighter helmet. Michael at 12, showing me the treehouse he'd designed and built himself. Michael at 25, graduating from architecture school. Sarah and me beaming beside him. When had I lost him? How had I not seen this happening? Saturday morning came too fast. Rachel arrived first, her face determined. Philip showed up with a briefcase full of documents. Martha came with her nurse's calm presence. At 11, Michael's car pulled into the driveway. Alone. No, Jennifer. He walked in, and I saw confusion cross his face when he saw everyone gathered. "What's going on?" he asked. "Michael," I said, standing. "Please sit down. We need to talk to you about something important." His face immediately shuddered. "If this is about Jennifer, it's about you," Rachel said firmly. "Please, Mike, just listen." He sat reluctantly on the edge of the couch, body tense, ready to bolt. Philip started. Laid out the evidence calmly, methodically. The forged insurance policy, the drained accounts, the pattern from Jennifer's previous marriages, Angela's testimony, the medical assessment of coercive control. With each piece of evidence, I watched Michael's face. Denial, anger, confusion, more denial. "You're all crazy," he said, standing. "Jennifer warned me you'd try something like this. She said you couldn't handle the fact that I'd put my wife before my family, that you'd try to sabotage our marriage." "Michael," Martha said gently, "when was the last time you made a decision without asking Jennifer first?" That's not. When was the last time you saw your friends? Your colleagues? Outside of work? I've been busy. When was the last time you called your father Dad? Michael stopped, looked at me. For just a second, I saw my son in there, confused and scared. "She loves me," he said, but his voice cracked. "I'm sure she does. In her way," Martha said. "But love doesn't isolate you. Love doesn't make you feel like everyone else is against you. Love doesn't require you to give up everything you are." "Mike," Rachel's voice was thick with tears. "Remember what Mom used to say? About how love makes you more yourself, not less? You're not yourself anymore. We've watched you disappear, piece by piece. And we can't watch anymore. We won't." Michael's hands were shaking. "I don't know what's real anymore. She tells me things, and they make sense when she says them. But then I try to remember, and I can't." His voice broke completely. "I can't remember who I used to be." I went to him then, knelt in front of him like I used to when he was small and had nightmares. "You're Michael James Mercer. You're an architect because you love building things that last. You're my son. You're Rachel's big brother. You're the man who designed a memorial garden for your mother because you said she deserved beauty even in death. You're still that person, Michael. You're still in there." He looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw the moment, the crack in Jennifer's carefully constructed wall. "Dad?" His voice was small, uncertain, but it was Dad, not Thomas. "I'm right here, son. I'm right here." What happened next happened fast. Michael agreed to stay at my house that night, agreed to meet with the therapist, agreed to look at the financial documents. Jennifer called 17 times that evening. Michael didn't answer. Finally, she showed up at my house. I answered the door, kept the chain on. "Where's my husband?" she demanded. "Michael's resting. He's had a difficult day." Her face transformed. The mask dropped. I saw pure calculation in her eyes. "You can't keep him from me. That's kidnapping. Michael is a grown man making his own choices. He's chosen to stay here tonight. You poisoned him against me. Filled his head with lies. No, Jennifer. That's what you did. And it's over." She leaned close to the crack in the door. Her voice went quiet, venomous. "You have no idea what I'm capable of. You think you've won? I could destroy your son with a single phone call. I have resources you can't imagine. By the time I'm done, Michael will lose everything. And it'll be your fault." "Actually," Philip's voice came from behind me, "we've been recording this conversation, and threatening a vulnerable adult constitutes harassment. We have more than enough for a restraining order. I suggest you leave now." Jennifer's eyes went wide. Then she smiled. It was the scariest smile I'd ever seen. "This isn't over." She turned and walked to her car. The next 3 months were hell. Jennifer fought back with everything she had. Lawsuits, accusations of elder abuse, parental alienation. She'd hired expensive lawyers, played the victim of a family conspiracy. But we had evidence. We had Angela and Gregory's testimony. We had the forensic accounting. We had everything. Slowly, piece by piece, the truth came out. Bank fraud, identity theft, the offshore accounts, a pattern spanning 15 years, and 7 victims, not just 2. Michael worked with his therapist 3 times a week. Some days he was angry at me for not seeing it sooner, for letting Jennifer into our lives. Other days he was angry at himself for being weak enough to fall for her manipulation. The therapist helped him understand it wasn't weakness. It was human nature. We trust people we love, and predators like Jennifer know exactly how to exploit that trust. Jennifer was arrested on a cold February morning. Multiple charges: fraud, identity theft, forgery. Michael wasn't there when it happened. He was with me, sitting at my kitchen table, drinking coffee, talking about maybe coming back to work part-time. "Dad," he said quietly. "Yeah, son? I'm sorry. For Thomas. For all of it." I reached across the table, took his hand. "You don't have anything to apologize for. I cut you out. I believed her instead of you. You were being manipulated by someone who's done this before, someone who knows exactly which psychological buttons to push. That's not your fault." He was quiet for a long moment. "How did you know? How did you see it?" When I couldn't, I thought about Martha's warning, about Angela's story, about the moment I'd realized my son was slipping away, because I loved you enough to look. Even when I didn't want to see it, even when it hurt to see it, I looked. That's what family does. The trial was 9 months later. Jennifer was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. Restitution orders were issued, though most of the money was gone, hidden in accounts we'd probably never find. Michael and I sat in the courtroom when the verdict was read. He didn't show any emotion, just sat there, hands folded, breathing steady. Afterward, he said, "I don't feel relieved." "What do you feel?" "Empty. Like I lost 2 years of my life and can't get them back." "No, you can't. But you have time ahead of you. That's what matters now." A year and a half after that Saturday intervention, I was standing in my backyard at a barbecue. Rachel had flown in with her kids. Michael was there with his colleague Pete, laughing about some disaster at work. Martha was teaching my grandkids how to make s'mores. Michael walked over to me at the grill, beer in hand. "You know what today is?" he asked. "Saturday, 2 years since you saved my life." "I didn't save your life, son. I just reminded you who you are." He smiled, the first real smile I'd seen from him in what felt like forever. Same thing. We stood there together, father and son, watching our family around us. And I thought about Angela's words, about David, about all the victims who didn't have someone who loved them enough to look. That's when I got the idea for the foundation, the Peaceful Rebuilding Project. We ended up calling it. Rachel helped me set it up. Support groups for families dealing with coercive control, legal resources, financial counseling, a hotline where people could call when they suspected someone they loved was being isolated, manipulated, controlled. Michael spoke at our first support group meeting, told his story, how it felt to be pulled away from his family, how the manipulation worked, how recovery was possible but not easy. A man in his 50s approached Michael after, tears in his eyes. "Thank you, my daughter. I think my daughter's husband is doing this to her. I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know it was abuse. I thought I was crazy." "You're not crazy," Michael said. "And you're not alone." I watched my son help this stranger, share his pain to ease someone else's, and I thought about how tragedy can become purpose, how even the worst experiences can be transformed into something meaningful. Later that night, just Michael and me sitting on my porch, he said, "Dad, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you think Mom would be proud of how I handled all this?" I looked at my son, at the man he'd become through trial and fire and healing. "Your mother would be proud that you survived, that you asked for help when you needed it, that you turned your pain into purpose." Yes, son. She'd be very proud. I know I am. He nodded, wiped his eyes. I'm calling you Dad again. In case you haven't noticed, I noticed. I never should have stopped. You did what you needed to do to survive. There's no shame in that. We sat in comfortable silence, the kind of silence only possible between people who've been through hell together and made it out the other side. If you're listening to this story, and something about it sounds familiar, if you have someone in your life who seems to be slipping away, becoming someone you don't recognize, please listen to that voice inside you. The one that says something's wrong. Don't ignore it like I almost did. Love doesn't isolate. Love doesn't require you to choose between your partner and everyone else who cares about you. Love doesn't make you smaller, quieter, less yourself. And if you're the one being pulled away, if someone in your life is telling you that everyone else is against you, that only they truly understand you, that your family is toxic and your friends are jealous, please ask yourself, when did you start believing that? Was it before this person or after? You deserve better. You deserve love that makes you more, not less. Love that connects you to people, not cuts you off from them. And to the families out there watching someone you love disappear, don't give up. Keep reaching out. Keep showing up. Keep loving them, even when they push you away. Because the day may come when they need you to remind them who they really are. My son came back to me. Yours can too. But you have to be willing to look at the uncomfortable truth. You have to be willing to see what you don't want to see. And you have to be willing to fight for the people you love, even when they're fighting against you. That's what family means. Not blood, not obligation, but showing up, again and again, until the person you love finds their way back home.